Today's episode is brought to you by the University of Hawaii, College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, and the Seeds of Wellbeing, or SOW project. This podcast is supported by the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network, grant from the U.S. Department of Ag, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the Hawaii Department of Agriculture.
Aloha, welcome to the SOW podcast, aimed to provide educational support, information, guidance, and outreach to farmers, ranchers, and our allied agriculture producers in Hawaii. We are your hosts, Millie Oshiro and
Shannon Sand.
And today we're going to be talking with Amjad Ahmad. Thank you for joining us today.
Yay!
Thank you for joining.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me over, both of you.
Thank you for joining us today, Amjad. So Amjad works in the Oahu Extension Office as an extension agent in sustainable and organic agriculture. So some of his focus is organic agriculture, as one would expect, but specialty crops, crop diversity, variety selection, and plant nutrition and soil fertility.
Yeah. So glad to have you here with us today.
Yeah.
So Amjad, you want to share? Yeah, very good. You want to share a little bit about your background and I guess your position in extension? Yeah,
of course. So it's actually I got my PhD from the University of Hawaii at Manoa in natural resources and environmental management. From that time, actually, my connection with the sustainable and organic agriculture started because it was evaluating some different organic amendments on the growth and yield of sweet corn, in addition to the nutrient movement within the soil profile, so soil fertility and nutrient budgeting. From there, I joined the Sustainable and Organic Agriculture Program within CTAHR and been working on different topics, all related to sustainability and organic farming, and then moved into focusing more on the extension side. So yeah, that's my story.
Nice. So we should be calling you doctor instead.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. It's just a title.
It's just a title.
But it's a title you work hard for. Let me say that, right?
Yes. Yeah, you know what they call it, right? Permit head damage.
I like that one a lot. I was like, I've always heard Kyle higher, deeper, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like permanent head damage seems appropriate.
Yes. And they gave a certificate with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it seems like you've done a lot of work in a lot of different areas, including variety trials. So, I know that's one thing you've focused on in the last couple of years in particular with everything going on. So can you share what exactly about like variety trials are and like what are the benefits? Because as someone who has a background in like business and econ, I don't necessarily know that. So
easy. So easy. We live in Hawaii. It's beautiful, it's unique, but at the same time, we have in Hawaii what's called microclimates.
Yeah.
So sometimes like few miles you drive or you walk a few miles. A very good example here on Oahu, we have Waikiki and Manoa. It's only 2-3 miles between them, but it's so dry and so wet.
So different. Yeah.
So elevation, temperature, all of that varies. So us as in Hawaii, comparing when you go to the U.S. mainland, for example, it's a crop or a variety or varieties of crop. They will be suitable for hundreds, maybe even thousands of acres. In Hawaii, that sometimes doesn't work this way. It's just because that microclimates, the same crop, couple varieties of them, they're not going to perform the same at those different locations.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, what we do is we do those variety trials. Is we focus on the crops of interest from the farmers, especially those new crops that people are looking at, or crops that have been abandoned before, and due to the climate change, we can revisit them and now again due to either that the change in the climates or also the water availability, temperature, and all of that suitability. So what we do is we select those crops, and also we bring varieties as much as possible. It depends on the availability from the market. We evaluate them at different locations. So in addition to each, and what's good about CTAHR has many stations that they are located at different locations throughout the state that help us to conduct these trials at different locations, and from there we can select. So instead of the farmers try and, God forbid, fail, and then that could be a setback for them, we get those funds from the HDOA, from the USDA. They've been very helpful in giving us funds from the school, CTAHR, and the university. They've been helping us in, we do the trials, and then we come up with recommendations. Those recommendations gonna ease the burden on the farmers in
because it's okay for us, for you to fail, but it's not okay for them to fail. They have a lot less margin for error.
Exactly. So we try to help them by giving them a recommendation on the crop and on the varieties of each crop, that this one and this one will do better in your location. So they will start immediately, as they say, hit the ground running. They start with stuff that could work for them quickly, comparing with trying and failing, and then they may sit back and then they will say, oh, this is discouraged, and we don't want that for them.
Nice.
That's very important right here, because like you said, the microclimates make a big difference. Same thing goes with our forage grasses. That's pretty much the same thing. You don't want to invest in so much seed and whatnot and not do so well in those areas. So, another thing, growing up, I said, being on here on the Big Island forever, I always see the signs about all this Banana Bunchy Top Virus. And we all know, like, I know it's here, but I think some people kind of forget that it's still here, right? And the importance and what it is and whatnot, because it's been on the island for a while. So you want to kind of talk a little bit about what that is and what's the importance and, current status of what's going on with the Banana Bunchy Top Virus right now?
Absolutely. So the major risk of the Banana Bunchy Top Virus is that it doesn't kill the tree. So the tree will continue growing. It's just the infection is there. And all the keikis that's coming out of that corm or the mother that infected, everything coming out of that corm is infected too.
Wow, I did not know that. That's that.
In addition to, is that when you have this one infected plant, it's a source of infection for the entire farm. And there is no cure for bunchy top. That's another point.
Right.
Like you can prevent it, but you cannot cure it. So when the plant is infected, that's it. It's infected. And then the longer you leave it, the more dominant will become as a source of infection. And in addition to, is going to be also, will never end. So there will be always corm that will keep pushing those keikis, and they are all infected. And there is another point in that as well, is sometimes you see the keikis coming out and they don't show the symptoms, but they are infected. It takes sometimes a month or maybe even more. It varies between the varieties. And they will show the symptoms after. We have varieties of bananas, like different varieties, that there is no complete resistance to the bunchy top in banana. There is what's called highly susceptible. There is tolerance.
So nothing is actually like resistant.
Exactly. So any variety of banana will get eventually infected if you don't protect it.
Wow.
Does it affect the yields long term, or because I have no idea. So.
Absolutely. And then it definitely affects the plant will stunt. So the virus will stunt the plant.
Okay. So it's.
Yes, and if you look on, if you take a picture from the top of an infected, like a picture like an overview of the infected plant, you're gonna see it looks like a flower. It's because when the virus infects the tree, it's stunned. The leaves will get closer to each other, they overlap, and they look like a flower.
Oh wow.
Yes, it's easy to spot if you have done kind of little bit training about if you like been with someone who knows, and then they will show you the exact symptoms. Like, for example, the leaves will become wavy, and there will be like a dark and light green colors coming from the middle of the leaf out. So there will be light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. And again, the plant will stunt, and then the leaves will get closer to each other. And what transferred the banana bunchy top virus is aphids.
Oh.
So the aphids will feed on an infected plant. They will get the virus. And then they go and feed on a clean plant and they give it the virus.
Oh.
Ants play also a role in that.
Yeah.
So because the aphids will have lots of what's called the honeydew, the extra sugar comes out from the aphids. Ants come and feed on that. So what they will do, they will farm the aphids. They will take them they will take them from plant to plant, and they will protect them too.
Oh.
Ladybugs is a known natural enemy to aphids.
Yeah.
Ants will come and try to kill it to stop it from feeding on aphids.
Yeah.
So definitely, whenever I'm talking to people about controlling or prevention of the banana bunchy top virus, I say aphids and ants, because there is a huge, good symbiotic relation between them.
I had no idea there was like a symbiotic relationship between aphids and ants.
Oh yeah,
I
have a couple of beautiful pictures showing it.
Yeah.
Additionally, we know because the banana has like thick leaves, right? And people tend to use it as a windbreaker. And we've been telling people, do not do that, because in windbreakers or in fence of plants, you want it to be thick, and usually we forget about it, and that will make it a big source of infection. So I keep telling people is we want to move from the old typical thick banana mat into a smaller version where we are going to have only the mother, 1 or 2 keikis at most, at the maximum. We keep moving the keikis out and we plant them in new places. This way you have clean materials. You reduce the density in that one small mat. And when you spray, for example, if you are using chemicals to prevent and control, when you have all those dead leaves, you cut them, you remove them. You are very easy to, if you spot the aphids, you can control them much easier comparing when it's all the dead leaves coming down and the leaves on top of each other. They will be very much not easy to control.
Yeah.
And I should mention, thanks to the USDA H2OA program that helped us a lot in funding us to produce tissue culture bananas. And we distributed almost 2,000 seedlings statewide.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
In fact, yes, it was a really good program. And we test usually the plants before we enter them into the tissue culture program. And then when they produce those seedlings, we take care of them till they are in good size. And then we've been giving them away for free statewide. In fact, I'm going next week to Kona, and that will be another distribution of seedlings.
Nice.
We did it on Maui. The Oahu, we started with Oahu. We went to Maui, Kauai, Hilo side, and we're going to Kona side. And then after that, there will be also some distribution on Molokai as well.
Nice.
That's good. So Banana Bunchy Top is on all islands, or is it just Big Island?
It's on all islands.
All islands now.
We recommend people is if you see the bunchy top, you want to get rid of the entire mat.
I see.
It's because there is no cure again, and it's going to be a source of infection. It's just, we understand farmers.
It's kind of like rod, right? Where if one's infected, you just assume they're all
the whole mat. Exactly, the whole mat. Again, even if you don't see the symptoms, it's usually as long as within that same mat everything is infected. it's gonna maybe take some time for the symptoms to show.
Yeah.
But definitely is the same, and that's why. And I understand farmers are working really hard, and it hurts. Even actually, my heart hurts my heart to tell people get rid of the entire mat, but that's much better than having a source of infection that will be continuously there.
Right. So you said that there was a sort of level of infection. There's some plants that can tolerate it or something, so you wouldn't see those symptoms in those tolerable plants, or
yes. Also, that's another thing. It's kind of a risk, because sometimes the varieties that they are tolerant, they will not get infected very quickly, but they may also hide the infection for some time too. And that's also another risk. So that's why we tell people prevention is the best way to control the banana bunchy top. And that's why we're recommending people to go on the what we call low density of a weed mat. That's one. Second, a rotation of different chemicals, because what's been happening is that any insect, any pest in general, if you use only one chemical on it and you keep using it, is going to build resistance over time.
Right.
So we are trying to tell people use at least 3 chemicals, and we have a list of approved chemicals for banana on aphids in Hawaii. And when we go and give a presentation statewide, we've been always showing the list to the people, so they can at least select any 3 combination of those chemicals, not together, but after each other in a rotation. And this will what helps with that is when you keep spraying different chemicals, you're not going to reach the maximum of each chemical. Second, because again, the label is the law. If the label tells you, for example, 4 applications in a growing season for banana, that's about a year. So definitely you have to follow the label. So when you use different chemicals, you're not going to reach the maximum of each. You're not gonna allow the pest to build resistance.
Yeah.
And also you are not contaminating the environment with high concentration of each chemical. You allow it to break down because you are using different chemicals over time.
Right. Wow.
Cool.
I thought I knew what Banana Bunchy Top Virus, and Amjad, you just showed me that I did not know very much about that, but it's very good to know, because
I already knew I didn't know anything.
We all learn over time. It's just about really reading and doing things, and I myself also gain more and more knowledge over time.
So the disposal now, if you remove the plant, is there a proper way to dispose of that material, or
That's a very good question, because usually people tend to, when they cut the dead leaves or the mother, for example, after the harvest, they just leave it on the ground thinking of it's going to decompose or it's going to suppress the weeds. But imagine if you have an infected plant, and banana, exactly. Banana has, in banana is very juicy. You know that there is technically the stem of the banana is actually just the extension of the leaves. It doesn't have a typical stem. So the extension of the leaves, they wrap up around each other, and that's what makes the stem of the banana. So it's very juicy. And imagine if you leave it on the ground, that is going to stay high, like with a high humidity for a long time, or moisture, not humidity, sorry, moisture for a long time. So with that, if any aphids will come and feed on that infected plant, definitely will move and cause more infection. What we're recommending people is that if the plant is not infected, yes, you can use the dead leaves and stuff as a weed to control the weeds and stuff. But if you suspect it or you know it is, definitely don't do that. We've been telling people, if you have a burning permit, and I understand getting burning permit is not easy in Hawaii, but if you have it, that will be the best way to do it. You want to burn that plant, you want to ash it. This way, there is no chance for this plant to give infection. If not, you want to dig a hole deep in the soil as much as possible. You bury that plant deep, so there is no sunlight to come closer to it, and then it will start regerminating again. And then the KTs, definitely, they will be all infected because they are coming from the same plant that's infected. So digging a hole deep, a hole that's deep, and then burying the plant there or burning it, that would be the best.
How deep would be deep enough? I'm just curious.
I would say more than 5 feet, 6 feet, if possible. You don't want the sunlight to come close to it.
Okay.
If possible. So yeah, definitely like
so deep. Yeah.
A machine that definitely will be needed to do that.
Yeah.
Some people have been asking me about composting or covering it with like a plastic sheet and stuff. I would say if you want to do that, with composting, we are not sure if the heat in the compost pile
burn it up.
will be enough to kill both the virus and the aphids. We are not sure. And as far as covering it with a plastic sheet,
it won't last long in the sun here.
Exactly.
That plastic will be like, I feel like just a couple months, it'll be gone. And depending on where you are, the wind is even worse and it will be gone faster. So
it will be gone faster, but also we don't know how is it long enough that the aphids will not come and feed on it and then distribute the infection again.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, you want to take that way from the banana as much as possible. So the edges of the farm or something like that, you want to take it as much as possible away from the banana plantation to make sure it's not going to be an easy transfer of aphids between the plant you are covering and the plant that you are growing. That could be an infection again.
I was going to ask you, is there a certain distance, do you know, for like the aphids that they travel, right? So like how far away do you have to, is a safe distance for you to keep those plants or like if you have one that you know that's infected now, what's the radius of what you need to, inspect or get rid of?
We don't have really a set of data about it, but adding the ants into the equation in that symbiotic relation,
it's far.
That actually scares me more.
Yeah.
Because they could actually move them far along enough to become a source of infection, especially if they are looking for new areas, for example, to start a new nesting area or and their feeding territory as well.
Right.
So that could be another thing. We don't have really a set of exact data about what the distance or the safe distance between. And in general in Hawaii, to be honest, is not easy because we work with 70-80% of our farmers are small farm holders. That's between 1 and 5 acres. In mostly actually closer to 1 and 2.
So everybody needs to just get together and make a big emu, and then you can use all the banana for the bedding for emu and burn it. There you go.
That's exactly what I've been telling people. You are so smart, both of you. That's exactly what I've been telling people. Hey, just use the emu pit. Use it to just burn all that banana leaves.
Yeah. That's a good source for that. Wow. Thank you, Amjad. That's very, very interesting because, like I said, I always see, and I know that that's here on the island and a thing, but never really understood much about how the virus is. And, growing up, we have banana patches everywhere. So you're gonna have to show me those pictures so I can actually see now. I'm going to inspect those things a little bit more closely.
I will absolutely share with you some pictures. I want to go back to the crop diversity topic, if you don't mind, if you have
time. No, that's fine.
Of course.
It's a call to the farmer that if you are trying to start on a new crop or looking for a new varieties, reach out to your extension agent. On your island, there will be an extension agent. Reach out to them, even if they don't have the immediate answer to you. They have a connection of specialists, researchers, and other extension agents who they can reach out to give you at least some answer about crops and varieties performance in areas near you on the same island or as close as possible to you, or at least in the state. It depends really on. So all of us, we do lots of, as extension agents, as specialists, as researchers, we do lots of variety trials. And sometimes we publish, sometimes you know how is life, right?
Yeah.
So reach out to the extension agent. At least they might be able to give you an answer about crops and varieties performance in an area near you. It might be even you get very lucky is exactly within your area.
Yeah.
That so you reduce that chance of trial and error on your side, because that's what we do. We're trying to help. If you reach out to us, we will at least try to get you some answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's very true. That's what I always say. We may not always have the answers for you, but we know somebody that might. So,
That probably does. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that we can always redirect. So, yeah. Well, thank you, Amjad, for talking story with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for this invitation and the nice chat.
Yeah.
I hope to see you again on other topics as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Sure. Yeah.
We'd definitely like to get you on here to talk about like variety trials and some other stuff, maybe some soil amendments or something. So you have a lot of knowledge. So pick your brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to share with us before we close out?
Again, we are here to help. So please reach out and let us know what kind of issues or new ideas or something, and we'll try to help out as much as possible. And aloha to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks again. And we
Yep.
hope our listeners gain some knowledge, tools, and resources to help in their farm practices. And we will, of course, have links in the show notes for information that we shared today. And the listeners, please be sure to visit the Seeds of Wellbeing, our SOW website, and our YouTube channel listed in the show notes.
Yep. And for additional information about this topic, see the links provided in the show notes. Thanks for listening to the SOW podcast.
Yeah, before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to this podcast. And then stay tuned for next month. And mahalo for listening.
Mahalo.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
Aloha.